Welcome to episode 23 of Horror Bulletin. I'm Brian.
I'm Kevin.
And each week we bring you a whole bunch of movie reviews.
Horror movie reviews.
So this is Kevin and Brian's Horror Bulletin podcast, recorded live in Bluehouse Studio. We have evicted the vampires.
Yeah, enough of them.
We're changing things up a little with this, our 23rd episode. Horror news will now come regularly on our Twitter feed and Facebook page instead of in the podcast. Once a week is just not enough for news. We can get you newer news. You know, when we hear about it, we can get it out to you.
Yeah, instead of having to wait a week to tell you about it.
Plus, if you're listening to the podcast or watching the videos, 6-month-old news is kind of too late. So it's kind of dated. So we're not going to put the news in the podcast anymore.
You'll have to follow us on Twitter and our Facebook page.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this show is going to be basically just the movie reviews from here on out.
Yep.
So, to compensate, we've just lost, 10 minutes of news.
We're going to add more movies.
We're going to expand our discussion of the movies a little more to the point where there'll be spoilers. We've been asked several times now, just tell us the spoilers. If you don't want to hear it, you don't have to hear it.
So you're warned.
And a lot of times, we say the ending was bad because we can't say.
Yeah.
Now we're going to tell you what's wrong with the ending. Yeah. So, we're not going to spoil everything all the time, but it'll happen. Probably more often than it had before.
And the good ones will still be worth watching.
They will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, not only that, but we're also adding a whole new movie category. We've done the Universal horror movie for a long time, and we've still got dozens of those left.
Oh, yeah.
Drive-in classic, where we do something that's more than 5 years old. The contemporary classic, where we do something that's newer than 5 years old. And now we're adding horror around the world. International horror.
And since we're in the United States, we mean anything not in the United States.
Yeah. Usually, maybe not always foreign language with subtitles, but we're not going to rule those out.
Except we kind of goofed with this one because The Caller and...
To celebrate our new segment,
Yes.
all of this week's movies will be international.
Except for the Universal
It's not a
Studios.
mistake, it's a spin.
We didn't realize until we did this that, that's made in Argentina, and that's...
Puerto Rico.
That's Puerto Rican, which is the United States, technically.
It's close enough
It's
to
close
international.
Enough. Yeah. It's actually a Mexican production, but it was filmed in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
We're talking about The Caller from 2011.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah, so now we've got 4 movies. Universal, drive-in, modern, foreign.
International.
So this week, we'll cover the Universal Studios movie The Raven from 1935. Not Peter Lorre and Vincent Price. This is Karloff and Lugosi again.
The original.
The contemporary classic The Caller from 2011. The short film Count to 10. The very new horror movie What the Waters Left Behind, which was not at all what I was expecting. And our international feature The Wailing from 2016.
Korean.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, most of these are international also, but we'll pretend that's a feature.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so there will be spoilers for all these films in our discussion. We're going to discuss what the endings are in some cases. If you haven't seen them and you want to go in blind, now's your chance. Hit the pause button, go watch the movies.
And check us out on Twitter and Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to put spoilers or reviews on Twitter and Facebook. Of course, all our reviews are on the horrorbulletin.com website. You can go read those anytime.
And links to the reviews will be on Twitter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so our first movie this week is
The Raven from
1935. Black and white.
They hadn't invented color yet.
They still had not.
They were still developing that.
But we're at the point now where they talk. We're at the point now where they usually have a soundtrack, and they make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
This one's directed by Lou Landers. Somebody new. It's not the usual guy.
Not Whale.
Written by Edgar Allan Poe and 8 others.
Suggested by Poe's immortal classic, is what they say.
There is, in fact, an image of a raven in this movie, but that's as far as it goes.
Well, and they quote The Raven, the poem The Raven by Poe. It turns out
one of the characters
Yeah,
is a Poe nut.
he's obsessed.
Starring Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, and Lester Matthews, 61 minutes. Is this the
Still
shortest
short.
one yet? It might be.
Yeah. And again, it's Karloff in bigger font,
Yeah, we got some trivia on that one later.
That's all they have to say is Karloff, and it draws the crowds.
A woman is driving too fast and runs her car off the road. Isn't that just like a woman driver in 1935? Isn't that stereotypical?
It certainly was. Yeah.
In the storm, in the rain.
Oh, it
in
was
the
dark and stormy night.
Stormy night.
Again,
yes.
a dark and stormy night.
She's taken to the hospital where only Dr. Valen can save her. We cut to Valen, who's reciting The Raven for a guest. And he explains to this guest, "The raven is my talisman. Death is my talisman."
He's a little bit
He's
weird.
just a little bit weird.
Yeah, a little bit
The
obsessed.
guest is there. He wants to buy Valen's Poe collection for his museum. Valen tells the doctors on the phone that he's retired, but the girl's father begs him to save her. Her father, Judge Thatcher, goes to Valen's house, not taking no for an answer.
Yeah, he doesn't just take no for an answer on the phone. He actually goes there and says,
It's hard to say no in person.
Please, Dr. Valen, save my daughter.
Meanwhile, Valen explains to the museum man that he's actually built some of the torture implements that Poe mentions in his books.
Mm-hmm.
He's clearly a very serious Poe fan and hobbyist.
Oh, yeah.
The judge convinces Valen to save the girl. Later, some time passes, and Valen comments that Jean's scar has almost healed in the past month, and she can dance again.
Mm-hmm.
Valen wants to marry her, but she tells him she's going to marry Jerry soon.
Yeah, she has friend-zoned him, Dr. Valen.
Well, he's like 3 times her age.
Yeah, but he's deeply in lust with her, in love with her. But, yeah, her heart belongs to another.
So she's going to marry Jerry soon.
Mm-hmm.
She invites him, though, to come see her do an interpretive dance with Poe's The Raven.
Which is something.
It's something, yeah.
It's a guy sitting at a desk off to the side, literally reading, like he's Poe, reading the poem as he's writing it. And there's an orchestra playing, and she's kind of stylized as a raven with this feathery headdress and just kind of randomly dancing around the stage, and it's supposed to be some interpretive dance to the raven.
Tell me it's not any worse than Suspiria, though.
It wasn't bad. I mean, it was. Yeah, I mean, she was, moving beautifully like a dancer, but it just seemed very random.
Well, Dr. Valen loves the performance, and he loves Jean even more.
Mm-hmm.
Jean's father, though, notices how much attention Valen is giving Jean. He's afraid Jean may be becoming infatuated with Valen right back. They argue. Next, we cut to bearded Karloff, who has come to visit Dr. Valen. He wants Valen to change he's a criminal, and he wants Valen to change his face and pulls out a gun. "I am an ugly man, and I have done ugly things. If I looked good, I would be good." Karloff...
He's not that ugly. He didn't really ugly himself up that much for this.
At this point, this was regular Boris Karloff's real face. Not a good haircut.
Looks kind of thuggy.
Long beard.
Yeah.
Not scarred, not nasty, not mummy or any of that.
And here's where you get the first taste of how sadistic Lugosi's Dr. Valen is, because he's recounting, apparently, the thug Bateman robbed a bank. Was it a bank?
Yep.
Yeah. And the teller wouldn't shut up and wouldn't cooperate, and so he got carried away and used an acetylene torch and burned the guy. And Lugosi's like, "Oh, and you burned his face and his eyes," and you can tell he's like smiling and enjoying the thought of it. Tell me more.
Somebody likes torture, maybe.
Yeah. You get the first taste of it there.
And you kind of get the impression Karloff sort of regrets what he did, but he did do it. He really did do these things.
Yeah, and he is a bad guy and wants a new face to go into hiding.
Yeah. So Valen wants him to kill Judge Thatcher for him, but Bateman, Karloff, wants the operation first. Valen says okay, he operates, and Bateman winds up with a scarred, monstrous face.
Yeah, it's like half his face is kind of melted, and one eye is frozen in position, and now he's ugly.
That's some eye he's got.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Valen says he'll fix Bateman if he kills Thatcher, and Bateman reluctantly agrees. Valen invites Gene and a group of friends over for the weekend.
And Karloff takes, Bateman takes his place, takes the place of his butler.
Yeah.
And so...
Because everybody wants a disfigured, creepy, monstrous-looking butler.
Yeah. So the party is set.
Judge Thatcher tags along too. Everyone goes to bed for the evening. Bateman comes in quietly, and it looks like he's going to warn them of danger. But Valen comes in and interrupts him.
Mm-hmm.
Valen then takes Bateman down into the basement, where he keeps the torture toys. He wants Bateman to hurt Thatcher before killing him. Karloff turns the tables and traps Valen on the pit and the pendulum table.
Yeah, it's like literally one of the swinging, that slowly goes down.
And it's got the cuff things, and Valen lays down to demonstrate, and Karloff, and he's
But Valen points out, if you kill me now, your face is going to be like that forever. Ain't nobody can fix your face like I can. And
your face will freeze like that.
And so Bateman says, yeah, you're right, and sets him free. And,
yeah,
and the party continues.
So then Bateman goes upstairs, grabs the judge, and Jerry, who's there also, tries to intervene, but Bateman knocks him out. Before long, the judge is looking up at the pendulum.
Mm-hmm. Swish, swish, swish.
Valen stands over him and gloats while Bateman watches. Jean's room becomes a prison, but they eventually let her out.
Oh, not just a prison?
No, you haven't got there yet.
Oh, yeah.
Well, go ahead. Yeah, it's the same room.
The house is rigged up with secret doors and secret chambers and trap doors. And best of all, her entire bedroom is an elevator. They lock her in, and she's trapped in there, and it actually goes down to the basement where the torture chamber is, and his
this
controls
is completely pointless to the plot. They could have just took her downstairs.
It's just Valen gets his jollies from all this intricate stuff.
A whole descending room.
Yeah, and of course, then Jerry at one point runs into the room, and there's no room there, and he's hanging in space for a minute.
Yeah. Hanging off the doorknob.
It's funny because they said in the trivia that test audiences and real audiences often broke into laughter at that moment. I did too.
He ran through the door and there's nothing there.
And grabbed onto the knob and swinging out.
I don't know if it was meant to be funny, but it
was kind of a tension release, and it was kind of amusing. I had the same reaction as people in 1935. So, yeah.
So Valen pulls a gun and seals Jean and Jerry into a sealed room forever and ever, he says. This is a room where the walls crush together slowly.
Mm-hmm. But Bateman, has a change of heart.
Valen cackles like a maniac. Really maniac-like.
Really? Yes.
Until Bateman has second thoughts and turns everything off.
Mm-hmm.
Valen then shoots him in the back. Bateman, who's not dead yet, drags Valen into the crushing room and turns it back on. Bateman dies from his wound, and Valen gets squished.
Mm-hmm. And I like how the couple are like, there would have been plenty of time to stop the mechanism and save Valen, and they both kind of stood there like, oh, how awful. There's nothing we can do.
And there's this big switch labeled right here, crushing room.
That they could have, Yeah. But it has a happy ending for the young couple.
For them, yes.
Yeah.
Not so much the other two.
Yeah. And the judge is okay at the end too.
Yeah.
They rescue him from the table.
Nobody dies who didn't have it coming.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Karloff was paid twice what Lugosi got for this film, and Lugosi was not happy about it, since he was clearly the main actor in the movie.
And that's not fair, because
Lugosi had a big role in this.
Is really wonderful in this, I thought. I liked him. The best of anything I've seen him in so far.
Dracula, he didn't have that much to say. The Rue Morgue was just horrible.
Mm-hmm.
What was the Black Cat was kind of dumb, but he wasn't the main character.
Yeah.
He was clearly the main guy.
And a distinctly different character.
And he got second billing and half the money Karloff got.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you've ever seen Lugosi and thought he was bad, watch this one. He's better. Mm-hmm. He's good.
Yeah.
And Lugosi does have a lot to do here, and he's very good at it.
Mm-hmm.
He actually does more acting in this than in any of the previous films we've seen him in.
For sure, yeah.
At one point, Valen activates the elevator, and Jean's entire room descends.
That was awesome.
Then he managed to deactivate all the phones in the house and shut all the shutters by the way of big levers that he pulls.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And he's got quite a nice little torture chamber in his basement.
I was a little bit disappointed with all those controls and everything. I was thinking, oh, the house is going to have a self-destruct.
They just didn't get to that.
Yeah.
And he can blame all the torture implements on his Poe obsession, or maybe just because it's neat.
He was whacked. Yeah. Yeah.
This is no Bride of Frankenstein, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing, it was a prop thing, and I don't know if they made it for the movie or if it was a real toy, but they were doing a party game at Valen's place. Remember with the race?
The race that goes around.
Yeah.
These are real things. I've seen those before.
Okay.
They're very expensive antiques if you can find one that works.
I bet. Yeah.
It's a horse racing game. It's probably,
mechanical.
6-7 feet around in a circle, and it has like 5 or 6 little mechanical horses that
and it's random, I guess.
They screw it up with the gear and springs, and it's all spring-loaded, and you don't know who's going to win. You bet on it.
Yeah, really neat little toy. Big toy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Party toy, adult toy. Yeah. It was neat.
Completely nothing to do with the plot, but it was a neat thing in the movie.
Yeah, just Valen's stuff. He had a neat house. Yeah.
So, definitely thumbs up from the Raven.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so next up, I think we have another thumbs up movie. The Caller.
The Caller.
From 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Directed by Matthew Parkhill, written by Sergio Kesky, and stars Rochelle Lefevre, Stephen Moyer, and Lorna Raver.
Billed as a Mexican production. It was in English. And
did they say Mexican or just Spanish? It was Puerto Rico.
Mexican production. It's a Mexican production company.
Okay.
All the business stuff was Mexican. They filmed it in Puerto Rico.
Was it filmed really in Puerto Rico, or just the address? The story took place in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, filmed.
Okay. The story takes place in Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
you can see the address
and filmed
sometimes.
There. Yeah.
Okay.
But the business end of it and everything was actually Mexican company, Mexican production.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is our surprise international film.
Yeah. Puerto Rico is the United States, but technically it's
Mexico
an international
isn't.
film. Yeah.
Well, Mary is moving into a new apartment in Puerto Rico, and she's helped by her new neighbor, George. He's sort of the gardener, but he lives there. That night, she gets a wrong number who hangs up. I get those.
Looking for Bobby. Is Bobby there? I want to talk to Bobby.
When I get them, they're usually car insurance, but okay. But Mary is in the process of getting a nasty divorce, and her husband is a major creep.
Mm-hmm.
She gets another call the next morning from the same woman, who again asks for Bobby, and then asks who Mary is. She meets a friendly teacher at the local community college, and then takes the subway home. A lot of little things just happening that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When she gets home, the lady on the phone is there again, crying that Bobby told her he loves her. She also mentions that she's waiting for her son to get back from Vietnam.
Yeah. And this is modern
day. Was that 40 years ago and she's still waiting? Well, something's up there,
it's 2011. So,
yeah,
what? You're waiting for... Yeah. And...
something's going on.
Yeah. And Rose says, well... the woman on the phone. I don't know if we know.
We don't know that.
We don't know her name at that point. But right around that point, Mary's like, there's no Bobby here. There's no Bobby. And she's like, don't tell me. I went by the house last night and I saw him in the window. I know he's there.
And Mary knows that's not true.
And Mary's living there alone. So, yeah. So she just thinks, and we all think that just this is some crazy woman calling.
And we might be right.
Well,
the next day, the woman calls again and claims the date is September 4th, 1979. She's going to draw something on the wall behind the wallpaper, and Mary can find that and verify that she's telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what happens.
It's a rose drawn behind the wallpaper.
Somehow, the phone is getting calls from the past. They start to get friendly and tell each other about their personal lives.
Bad move.
Yeah. And then a day or two later, the old lady says she killed her husband and locked him up forever. And Mary suddenly finds a bricked up area where there wasn't one earlier. Just boom, the kitchen's bricked up.
She runs out of chips and goes to the pantry, and instead of the pantry, it's a bricked-in wall there.
She remembers what was there before, though.
Yeah, she does.
The next night, she's leaving school and finds her ex-husband hiding in the car. But when she gets the teacher to go out and watch for her, there's nothing but some trash in the car.
Well, and that's what inspired Rose to kill her husband. They got talking about the husbands, and Rose was saying how awful Bobby was to her, and Mary's husband was just awful, and Mary saying, well,
Commiserating.
I wish I'd done something besides divorce him, and they get to alluding to what it would be like, and well, Rose actually did.
Follows through with it.
Yeah, follows through and kills her husband. Yeah.
So she gets the teacher to go out, and there's nobody in the car. But when she gets home, the ex is there waiting for her, and he threatens her, even though there's a restraining order.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher, whose name is now John, comes back, just coincidentally, and saves the day.
Well, he forgot his jacket, fortunately. They walked home, and it was chilly. She was wearing his jacket, so, yeah, lucky for her. Yeah.
Later, the old woman says she saw Mary and her mother, and then Mary looks at some old photo albums and sees a woman staring at them in one of the photos.
Yeah, in front of the cathedral.
Yeah.
And she realizes that it was when Mary was a little girl. This woman found out who she was and who her mother was, and yeah.
The next day, Mary confronts George, who's worked there pretty much forever. He remembers old Rose and tells the story of how Rose killed herself with a phone cord. She hung herself with this phone.
Mm-hmm. And George found her.
But that didn't actually happen now.
Yeah,
because Mary is her new friend who talked her out of it, and you know, since she's a new friend, she's got a reason to live. She didn't kill herself in '79 the way she was supposed to.
Yeah, she killed her husband instead and walled him up. Yeah.
John gives a long explanation of time loops and altered timelines. John and Mary start getting closer, but the husband is still stalking them.
Mm-hmm.
Mary gets nasty with Rose the next time she calls. Rose says, "Go dig up a thing I just buried in the yard." And it turns out to be one of Rose's own fingers. Rose says she knows who the tattletale is, and George vanishes.
Well,
George who? We forget George.
Well, you missed a thing there, too.
I did.
Mary decides she's going to try to talk Rose into killing herself, to try to correct things.
Yeah.
And tells Rose that she tracked her down as an old lady and visited her in the nursing home, and she's like not there mentally, and she's just sad and pathetic and has no life, and she's awful and everything, and Rose is doubting this, but that's why she cuts off her finger, because did you notice anything about me that was unusual or anything that was missing or anything? And of course Mary's lying about seeing her at the nursing home. And so then Rose cuts off her finger to prove...
It knows it's not true.
Yeah, that it's not true, that she didn't hunt her down at the nursing home or anything. She tries to find records of Rose and can't find her in the modern day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So George vanishes. John doesn't even remember George, but he should.
Because the timeline changed. Because Rose did something to George in 1979.
Yeah.
And so he's not alive in 2011. It's complicated.
Shortly after.
Time travel is complicated.
Yeah. Shortly after, John vanishes too, having died also in 1979.
Mm-hmm.
Mary breaks down the brick wall in the kitchen and finds Bobby, George, and John's bodies.
Little John.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a boy. Yeah.
The next time Rose calls, she's with a little girl named Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Can Mary stop Rose in the past? Can anything good come from all of this? Well, what'd you think?
I liked it a lot.
Okay.
Overall, yeah.
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 I liked this one. At no point did it go in the way I expected.
No.
At no point could I say I know what's going to happen in 10 minutes.
There was a movie Frequency with Dennis Quaid.
Where the father died in the past and they talked on a ham radio.
And they were talking on ham radio. And this had some similarities to that because they were changing things in the past and then the present would change. Mm-hmm. But this was like a horror version.
That was more sci-fi, fantasy.
That was more sci-fi.
Horror,
this is definitely more horror.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's chilling. Because Rose,
she's a psycho.
Is nuts. She's a psycho, and she's got Mary, and not a lot Mary can do about it. But she does do something about it. Yeah.
The acting was good. The surprises kept on coming. There's not a whole lot of action, but the suspense continually builds to a point of desperation. And it's all very well done.
Are we going to spoil the end? We said we'd do spoilers.
We pretty much gave everything away.
Yeah, okay.
In the end, Mary learns a few things.
Yeah. It sort of has a sick, happy ending.
Kinda, yeah.
Sickly happy, yeah.
Hey, you want to watch a short film?
Okay.
Get ready.
Yeah.
Get set. Count to 10.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's the name of the movie. Count to 10.
And he does.
From 2019, it's 8 minutes and 9 seconds. Directed by Vincent Masciali.
I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Vincent Masciali.
Yeah.
Written by Bob Perkins and Ryan Scott Self. Starring Julie Marie Berman, Jason Bonnell, and Bob Clendenin. And I recognize him from other things. Most of these short films, they're usually nobody actors.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in other things as
Oh, I didn't recognize him.
bad people.
Okay. Yeah.
A little boy is getting ready for bed, but he has his mom check under the bed for monsters.
They've just moved into a new house.
He mentioned that he misses his dad, and he thinks there's something in his closet, but his mother easily proves that there isn't.
Mm-hmm.
He's the man of the house now, but he learns that problems don't always go away when you turn the light on. I like this one. It's not too long, but there are several important things that happened. The cinematography reminded me of the original Poltergeist.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
You know, the kid in the bedroom with the clown,
counting
and
the seconds,
counting the storm, and all that.
Yeah.
This is a very similar kind of thing.
Yeah, and where it comes from, she tells him to, if you see something scary, be brave, close your eyes, count to 10, open it, and it'll be gone. It won't be there. It wasn't real.
And actually, she's kind of right.
Yeah, it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should watch it. It's on YouTube.
8 minutes. We'll have a link in the show notes. Go take a look at that one. It's good.
It was a good one.
So we've had 3 good movies so far.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I slam one of these. Which one am I going to get it this time?
This next one.
The What the Waters Left Behind.
I might join you on slamming up to
2017 review.
Argentina,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Directed by Luciano and Nicholas Onetti. Written by them, Luciano and Nicholas Onetti, and also Carlos Goida. Starring Augustin Pardella, Damien Dryzik, and Victoria Moret. 93 minutes.
The town, the ruins.
This was kind of neat
Of
looking.
Apessian.
Yeah.
Really had a perfect setting. I mean, it takes place in the actual town where this happened.
In 1985, there was a flood, and many people evacuated, and the flood swallowed the entire town of Epicuan.
It was a resort town on a salt lake, and a dam broke, and a dike broke, and
Nothing was left but rubble and wreckage.
Yeah, 35
True
feet deep?
story. You
Yeah.
can look this up. It's
Yeah.
real.
Uh-huh.
And we get told all this while titles roll.
Yeah, there's like an exposition at the beginning, which we didn't realize at first.
We thought it was
real.
just a story.
Yeah, we thought it was completely made up, and that part is not.
It's real.
It's a real place, and they filmed it in the real ruins. Yeah.
So a girl covered in blood runs through the wreckage in her underwear.
Yeah, the water receded at some point.
Oh, a long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, it flooded, and then it's like...
At this point, it kind of looks like a tornado just went through. It's a bunch of flat buildings and wreckage.
Yeah, really
but it's dry.
ruined, yeah. But, yeah.
So someone catches the girl and beats her head in. Fade to black.
Yeah, that's the opening. Yeah.
A van load of mostly young people, documentary filmmakers of course, are driving through Argentina toward Epicuan. They stop at a gas station with the nastiest looking restroom ever, and there's a creepy old woman working there. Actually, everyone at the place is creepy and strange looking. And what did you say when you saw these people?
They're the harbingers.
If you've seen Cabin in the Woods, the creepy guy who they always run into ahead of time, they call him the Harbinger. And
it's a trope where they're going into the town or the mountain or whatever, and they stop at a gas station, and there's somebody creepy there, and they don't turn back. Or
they should have had a sign on Harbinger. Yeah.
Beware, turn back. Yeah.
They arrive at the dead town, and everything, even the trees, are dead due to the high salt content of the lake that flooded. Mm-hmm. Just as they prepare to start shooting film, we see that there's a man watching them up in a tower through a gun scope. Little do they know, but their fuel line has already been cut. The van dies, but shortly after, another car appears. It's the man we saw earlier with the sniper rifle. Mm-hmm. The man volunteers to drive one person to the gas station, and the director, the oldest guy in the group, goes with him. Then we get a quick glimpse of a missing girl poster in the back seat. And we saw the same missing girl poster at the gas station, too. Mm-hmm. But this guy's got one in the back seat, which is kind of creepy.
Well, but there's
Did he have something to do with it?
Yeah.
Featuring the girl we saw in the pre-credit sequence. So the girl we saw get her, we know she's dead. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Out of the blue, two of the girls start kissing. and the director's girlfriend and the driver start seducing each other. We get 15 minutes of wreckage shots interspersed with sex scenes. Probably 15 minutes. Yeah,
Yeah, about 15. Yeah, yeah.
The girl who
The
witnessed
setup for-
the
yeah.
girl who witnessed the original flood gets bitten by a snake, and they have to carry her back to the van. Suddenly, we see a man wearing a dead cow skull kill the director, while the gun guy just sort of stands at a distance watching. Somewhere else, we see the director's girlfriend being captured and tortured by more guys wearing skulls. Night falls, and the chainsaws come out. Before long, everyone is captured, and they all face some massively crazy torture and gore insanity.
Very
But
gory,
wait.
very bloody.
But wait, the photographer and the man with the gun are still out there. Will they manage to turn the tables on these psychos? Okay, let's hear your opinion. What were you expecting going into this?
I was expecting maybe some kind of creatures or something that had evolved in the, and were living in.
We went into this one pretty blind. We
yeah,
heard
we
it
went
was
into
good.
it blind. Yeah, I wasn't expecting a Hills Have Eyes, Texas Chainsaw ripoff. I mean, boy, that was. And some of the scenes, I mean, like
Blatant.
the
ripoff.
dinner scene in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, if y'all remember that from the original. There's one of those where she's tied up and like this psycho family is all having dinner, and that just wasn't very original, And there's the drama. There's the director's girlfriend, and he's like the sugar daddy, but she's banging the driver, and it's like, okay, these characters, we've seen these characters before, and we've seen this. Oh, look, it's psychos with weapons. Like, okay, no, that's never been done before. Just not original. Yeah. Cool setting. I loved the setting.
How many out of 10?
3. I give this one a 3 out of 10. Yeah.
There's a reason I let him go first, because he always says he likes something after I say I hate it. So here's mine.
You gonna love it? You love it?
It's The Hills Have Eyes and Texas Chainsaw Massacre combined.
He saw that too.
The story of Epicuan and the flooding is all true,
Yeah.
and this was filmed in the actual ruins. It was a literal disaster area, which was perfect for this movie.
No, it did have some really good gore effects. One of the best blood spray effects ever as he's chopping somebody up. But
There was one scene after another of wreckage, including drone flyovers, which was obviously very real. This was shot on site.
yeah,
There was a sequence that I thought was strange where there was a lot of freeze frame and red tinting for extra shock value.
oh
which
yeah, I
seemed
forgot
unnecessary.
about that. That was like a 70s grindhouse kind of.
And they did this, I think, 3 red flashes, all within 2 or 3 minutes of each other.
Yeah, and then didn't again.
And there was no purpose to it, and they never repeated it. It was just, I don't know what that was about. That was out of the blue.
That was kind of weird.
Once the killing starts, the gore is way over the top. There are a lot of very long, lingering, super creepy shots that are very effective. I mean, there's a rape scene, and you focus in on the rapist's face for like 3 minutes as he just sort of stands there and thinks about what he's going to do. And it's super creepy. As long as you go into this realizing it's a killer cannibal Argentina rednecks in the wild kind of story and not something supernatural, you'll enjoy it. 7 out of 10. Fooled you, didn't I?
Yes. Yes, you did.
I did not hate this.
I didn't understand the sniper guy. It was
his daughter.
It was his daughter, yes.
His daughter was killed in the beginning of the movie.
That part I got.
Okay.
But, so he's driving the director, and they come up to this roadblock. And he gets out of the car and goes up to look at the roadblock.
Why he didn't kill the guy?
The director is killed in the car by the car. He's got this rifle with the sniper rifle, and he's got the killer psycho guy in the skull mask in his sights. And then they cut away.
We don't know why.
Why did
maybe he couldn't bring himself to pull
bullets?
I'm sure he had bullets.
Yeah.
He couldn't bring himself to pull the trigger, or maybe he figured that this guy was with somebody else and wanted to follow him home. We don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why. But it was a perfect opportunity to have one less of the psycho family right there, but we didn't do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm on a roll. I liked everything so far.
Okay.
Which brings us to our last movie, the international movie, The Wailing, Korean movie 2016. Directed by Hong Jin-na, written by Hong Jin-na, starring Jun Kinemura, Jung Min Hwang, and Do Wan Kwak.
You'll be tested on those names.
I hope I'm not tested on those names.
Yeah.
2 hours and 36 minutes. We got Lord of the Rings here of length.
We actually saw
Korean
this
subtitled.
second time this time.
We've both seen this before. Yeah, we saw it probably 6 months ago.
I understood it more this time.
Yes. First time you're really just trying to keep up with the subtitles. Second time it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Well, somewhere or another, I've got Kunamura Jun as the main character's name, but looking back on this, that's actually the actor's name.
Jung-gu.
Okay.
Jung-go.
Well, there's this guy I'm going to call Jun, who gets up early to get dressed because he's a policeman and he's got a call that the ginseng farmer's wife has died. He gets to the crime scene and there's lots of screaming and wailing. There's a man there covered in blood and blisters who the police already have handcuffed. They didn't know why he did it and he's not talking. The other detectives go inside to examine the crime scene, and there's a mess inside that looks something like a big nest. And then the credits roll. So that's early.
So it's an unexplained guy just went nuts and killed his family for some reason. Yeah.
A hunter has an accident and falls down a hill. When he awakens, he sees a man in a loincloth digging through his pack. Then the man bends down and starts eating the deer, raw. You ever see a naked man eat a deer in the woods?
I have. In this movie.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Then we flash away, and the two cops are talking about the story about the man in the loincloth. And one says to the other, all this happened after that Japanese man arrived.
Mm-hmm.
The power then goes out, and they see what looks like a naked woman standing outside in the storm. But of course, there's no one there when they go look. Boy, those guys panic easy.
Yeah, for cops, they're very panicky.
It's like Abbott and Costello cops or something.
A little bit, yeah.
That night, a house burns down, and the survivors are all acting crazy. Jun notices that the Japanese man in the crowd is there. He's watching it all.
Mm-hmm.
He remembers that the woman there is the same as the naked woman they saw the previous night. The next morning, they find all those survivors dead, either stabbed or hanged. The woman stabbed the two men and then hanged herself. There's a new story that the Japanese man had raped her in the past, driving her insane. She was covered at the time in rash and boils and muttering gibberish, just like the murder in the first scene.
And they've also developing a theory that there's some mushrooms that are psychotropic mushrooms that these people are getting into, and they're making people crazy
and breaking out with a rash.
Yeah.
So Jun thinks the rash is an important link.
Mm-hmm.
While guarding the crime scene, a strange young woman tells him to watch out for the Japanese man, as he wants to suck people's blood dry. He's then chased by the Japanese man, who is again naked in the loincloth, and now has red eyes. Jun wakes up. At least some of that was a dream.
Mm-hmm.
We're not sure how much.
So
probably just the chasing part.
Yeah, the Japanese man in a loincloth with red eyes.
Yeah. The next morning, Jun's daughter is very sick. They talk to the hunter with the deer story, and he too ties things in with the old Japanese man.
Mm-hmm.
They go with him into the woods and see where it happened. The man falls down the hill again, and then gets struck with lightning, and they take him to the hospital.
He's got bad luck.
Boy, does he have bad luck. Fall down the hill, struck by lightning. And then he falls down.
Yeah.
While there, they see the first murderer going into seizures and bursting with blood as he dies.
Covered with rash and boils.
He's got some really nasty kind of disease.
Mm-hmm. But which is eventually terminal in itself. Yeah.
And then they see some other people with similar markings, including Jun's daughter.
The boils.
Who is now hallucinating about a strange man who wants into her room.
Mm-hmm.
She's perfectly fine the next morning, but Grandma thinks the little girl is possessed and wants to hire a shaman.
Well, part of they like, she never eats fish. And the little girl's sitting there at the breakfast table. There's like this mound of fish bones sitting there where she's just cobbling. Yeah. Something's not quite normal there. But she's acting normal and chipper and, for now.
Not sick like the day before.
Yeah.
Well, they eventually get through the woods to the old man's house and find a very unusual shrine inside, as well as hundreds of photos of dead people. The Japanese man returns and catches them there. And Jun finds one of his daughter's shoes there. Somehow, this all ties together, and Jun is determined to figure it out. Who's really behind all this death?
Yeah.
And at this point, we're about 1 hour into it, and I kind of stopped taking notes. A lot goes on in this movie.
Yes, it does.
What'd you think?
I liked it. I liked it better the second time. I understood it more the second time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see here what I've got, and then you can explain it to me.
The shaman and the
it's slow paced.
And the woman in white.
It's slow paced and really long, but never gets boring. There are some beautiful scenic shots of rural Korea.
Lush and green. Yeah, it rains a lot, but when it's not raining, it's just beautiful.
And this takes place in the present day, but there's some of those scenes could have been hundreds of years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Story-wise, it also capitalizes on the Koreans' historical hatred and fear of the Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, Korea was invaded and captured by the Japanese, and they did not get along well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of fear going on there. The shaman and his rituals are great. He does the dancing and shakes the knives.
Yeah, they call in a professional shaman to exorcise the girl, to save her from
And it's
from
quite
her
an
possession.
involved exorcism.
Oh boy, it is, yeah. And he's got drummers and costumes and, yeah.
And it's got some actual funny parts to it. There's quite a bit of humor.
Mm-hmm.
The guy falls down the hill from losing his balance carrying a deer, which is funny the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Then he does it again.
Yeah.
Then falling down the hill the second time and getting hit by lightning. How do you have that kind of luck?
It's slapstick, yeah.
The daughter catching Jun and his wife having sex in the car was kind of hilarious.
Because they kind of live in it's kind of an open house with thin walls. They live with, it's the couple plus their daughter and it's his mother, right? Or her
I'm
mother.
not sure. I assumed it was a mother-in-law.
Mother-in-law.
It's her mother.
Yeah.
It's not important, though.
So to get away for some action, they do it in his car. She comes knocking. What you doing in there?
And they're not real comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And lastly, they have a zombie with a broken rake stuck in his head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that guy dies hard.
Yeah, one of the guys infected. Yeah, he fought. Yeah, a whole group of them. Well, Jun gathers up some of his friends saying, we're going to go get the Japanese guy. We know he's responsible. I know he's responsible. Well, we're going to stick it to him. Well, he's not home, and they get there looking around his place, and the zombie lurches out of kind of a zombie.
It's not a zombie movie, but
it's
there is
not
a
zombie
zombie
movie. Yeah, heavily infected person. Yeah. And is there like 6 of them? And he
6
fights,
against 1.
Yeah,
and
fights
he
all
pretty
6
much
of
wins.
them. And, yeah, but fortunately the affliction kills him. And he dies from that. But, yeah.
Okay, so through most of the movie, everybody claims that it's the old Japanese man who's, put a spell on people or possessing them or whatever.
And that's what we're led to believe.
And then later on, the young
yeah.
girl is said to be the witch or the ghost who's behind it all.
It's a young woman in white who keeps appearing around the town, and nobody seems to quite know who she is or where she lives.
And then there's this young priest who keeps running around getting involved in stuff.
Oh, a Catholic priest.
And the shaman is there doing his Korean ancient magic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, it's not exactly a whodunit. Well, it
kind of is.
He did it. No, she did it. No, he did it. No, she did it. And
no, it's
you don't
the
know
Japanese
who to
guy.
believe.
Oh, no, it's not. Oh, no, he's innocent. No, it's a misunderstanding. They're both shaman good guys. And yeah.
Yeah, so the last, at least the last half hour of the movie is he said, she said.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
You want to explain it to me?
Well, it was the Japanese guy. He was
clearly you can see he turns into a demon at the end.
He personifies the demon at the end. Yeah, he was fully possessed by the demon.
Or he was the demon.
The woman in white was actually a protectress of the village, and she kept trying to do this blocking magic. And what the village people would do, they'd call in the shaman.
The village people are in this? I missed that.
No, they're not in on it. No.
Why?
But they're
MCA.
Not that village people.
Oh.
They keep calling in the shaman who does this, pretension. The pretense is that he's exercising, and what it actually is, he's casting aside the woman in white's magic so that the people can get possessed. The Japanese guy takes a picture of them before they die and after they die. That captures their souls. And we know the shaman is in on it at the end because he spills a box of photos himself and picks them up. And you know for sure that he was in on the photo thing.
Yeah, the shaman was in it all along.
Yeah. But you were misled on. And yeah, for quite a bit of the movie, you think the Japanese guy is also a good shaman, and just it's a misunderstanding. They're both working on the same side. That's not the case, but it's kind of complicated.
It's long. It's subtitled. It's involved, but it looks great and it's got a good payoff. I'll give this one also a 7.
I give it an 8.
8. Ooh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. And that's our show for this week. Thanks for joining us. Stop in during the week at our website for news and horror updates, to comment on this podcast, or to contact us. Get ready for next week, because we'll be watching The Werewolf of London from 1935, followed by Coherence from 2013, High Moon from 2019, and Train to Busan from 2016. And I've seen 2 of those before.
I've seen one. I've seen The Train to Busan.
I've seen Busan and The Werewolf.
And it's so good that I'm looking forward to seeing it again.
That was surprisingly good.
Yeah.
A lot of action in that one.
I already know there's a thumbs up.
There's a thumbs up, yes.
Yeah.
Give those a watch this week and see if your opinion matches ours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Check out our Twitter feed at Horror Bulletin. Go ahead then.
Twitter, yes.
Yeah.
At Horror Bulletin. And our Facebook group is Horror Bulletin. 2 words.
Yep.
Yeah. Follow us. Send us a message. Contact us through the website. We'd love to hear from you. There's also the YouTube channel.
Watch us on YouTube, and you see us make all kinds of silly faces and all that throughout the entire episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. Okay, I'm Brian.
I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.